All right, and we're live. How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing great. I'm excited.
Nice, nice. I've got this is
Yeah,
Dave Wet Fly Swing Podcast. We're back for the boot camp. We're day 2 of the boot camp. I've got Mike O'Brien here with Fly Fish with me, Utah, and we're going to be jumping into a fly tying session today. You're going to talk about a couple of the few of the killer patterns. You're going to actually tie them today, so we're going to get
I
into
am.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're going to do that, and we're going to have a couple of angles. We'll just switch here really quick. We're going to see this in a sec when Mike
Okay.
jumps on and tying. But first, give us a heads up, Mike. What's been going on with you? Are you? I know you've been out fishing. What's the update on the fishing?
Yeah. So the update right now is we are having an unseasonably warm, like early spring. Next week, we're supposed to be in to the low 80s in the valley, which means mid to high 70s, on the Provo and some of our feeder streams, and up in the mountains. So I expect some runoff to hit hard by the end of next week. I went out yesterday to one of my favorite spring creeks. And it fished unbelievably
Nice.
with just a solo dry fly. And I had, well, easily my best day of the year, but a day that I'll remember for a long time. It was on fire. So
Yeah,
the
and it
fish
was
are
on some of
hungry.
the
The bugs are
patterns
moving.
you're going to share. Like you're going to
Yeah.
tie one of those patterns right today.
That's the first bug that I'm going to tie is something that not just is works for the spring, but all through the winter was one of my go-to dry fly patterns. And I probably hooked with just myself and with clients more fish on dries this winter than any other winter before because of the success and ease of seeing this pattern. So, yeah, if
Nice.
you want, we can jump right in.
Yeah,
Um,
let's hang on one sec because we're going to let some people. We're still got a couple minutes till the top of the hour, so
okay.
let's jump in.
Okay. Perfect.
I'll do a little bit of background here. So today we are
Sure.
doing a cool thing. So first off, for folks coming in either on the replay or whatever, make sure to
Yeah.
follow at Fly Fish with Me Utah on Instagram. Follow Mike, and you'll get a chance to win the fly rod we're giving away tonight. So if you do that,
Awesome.
you'll be entered to win that. We're going to do that today. Also, we're going to do a Q&A session. So if you have questions, just put them in the comments, and I'll collect those as we go
Cool.
today. And at the end, we're going to do a Q&A session. I know we'll probably have a few we'll ask you as we go. And then
Perfect.
I want to circle around here to the website and just show you again what we're looking at. So this is the website. This is Fly Fishing Boot Camp. So if you want to watch any of the replays, you can go to this page. If you're just jumping in here, you can just go to flyfishingbootcamp.com. And then you can see right here, we are right here, 2 p.m. Pacific time. And we got Mike going on. And then later tonight, we're going to do a two-handed session with Jeff Putnam. And
Fun.
then we'll be back on Saturday, and we're keeping this going. We're going to wrap things up later, early in the week, and then I also want to show you just a shout out to Mike's website. If you go to Fly Fish with Me Utah right here, book your experience. You can get all the information. So if we don't get into everything today on the session, Mike has a
Cool.
uh, good resource here. There's some good photos and all that. So make sure you follow Mike and check in on all that. And then I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor for the day today, our conservation sponsor here, and Upper Missouri Watershed Alliance. So we're giving them a big shout out. We're going to be out there later in the summer fishing there, but we always try to find a conservation group to support. So check in with the Upper Missouri Watershed Alliance and support them, and then we'll be off to a good start here. So
Cool.
cool. Well, let's jump back in. We're just at the top of the hour right now, Mike. So I want to welcome folks that are just coming in here and let everyone know that we're going to be getting started in a little bit. Mike O'Brien is here from Fly Fish from the Utah. He's going to be doing a session of live tying session. I'm excited about this. This is the first
Hmm.
one, and then we're going to have another one. Davey McVeigh will be on later in the week or early next week to finish up. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. We'll go from finger painting to painting the Sistine Chapel. That's kind of what
Right,
it's
right. No, this
me versus Davy McPhail. That's
Right.
crazy.
No, it's we bring it all together. It's going to be awesome, and I know your patterns are cool. That's the great thing about I think all of fly tying and fly fishing is that we all bring our own
Yeah,
expertise, and I know you have the passion.
absolutely.
We've had you on the podcast, and we will definitely have links out to those episodes we've done in the past. So yeah, let's.
Awesome.
In fact, let me just circle around to that really quick. I'm going to do that just so we can kind of see that podcast episode that we did with you. It was I don't have the number off the top of my head, so I'm going to search it right now, and we'll put in.
In December, what it was it
Yeah,
Christmas Eve that it
what
dropped?
is that? What it was?
Mhm, I think so. The 23rd or 4th.
Yeah, let's put in right here and see what happens here. When we pull this up, I'll do it live as everybody's on here. There it is. Yep, trout fishing the Provo right there. Episode. Let's see. Guess we don't have that. But if you search for that on the website, you'll see it. Trout fishing the Provo in Utah, right there. So you can listen to that whole
Cool.
podcast right now. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify if you want to take this further after we wrap up here today, of course, and then we'll be jumping into it. All right. So you want to give us a little heads up, Mike?
Awesome.
Give us a little heads up on what you
Yeah.
do first off, just a short, and then also on what we're going to be tying here today.
Yeah. So I'm a full-time guide and outfitter, in Utah and a little bit in Wyoming. My main waters that I fish are the Provo River and the Weber. And then we do a lot during the season of remote fishing as well. So we get up into mountain streams and rivers that don't see a lot of pressure and activity from anglers and get into some big fish and different species of trout. And try and my best days are the ones where I don't see other anglers. And so if that appeals to you, then our remote trips are great. But starting next month, maybe sooner with this warm weather coming, we'll start floating the lower Provo, which is it's a world-class trout fishery. It's
Mm-hmm.
outstanding with over
Nice.
6,000 trout per mile. So,
Yeah.
today I'll be tying 3 patterns. I call them guide flies because I tie these a lot and they're very effective. The first one is by far, well, the first one's very simple. It
Yeah.
only has a few ingredients, which is outstanding.
Perfect.
And so I go through a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so this pattern is a variation from a guy named Phil Bear, who is kind of a local legend. He's got this no-seam pattern. He has the mother sucker as well, which are both really popular
What's that
here
one called?
and on tailwater. The mother sucker,
Mother Chucker.
sucker,
Oh,
Shucker,
Shucker, the mother, the
shucker.
mother Shucker.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
the mother shucker. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
Just because it has a nice long chuck, it floats well. It's pretty visible. It's a great little pattern too. So you can look that
Perfect.
up. That's a
Okay.
great little midge tailwater pattern.
Good. Well, I'm going to switch over
So,
to our tying screen here,
okay.
and I'm going to let you take it away. And we just want to note, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments as we go here. Any fly tying questions at all, we can throw them at Mike, and we'll do a little Q&A session at the end. But yeah, Mike, we
Hmm.
got you on screen. We got your vise looking good. Why don't you
Okay.
go ahead and just take us through and break it away?
Okay. Perfect. So I believe you've posted the recipes, but we're
Yeah.
going to use a Tiemco 100. I tie these anywhere from in the wintertime, 18, typically 18 and 22. I've tied 24s, but they get a little difficult for me with my fat fingers to tie. And you can go bigger. You can change these colors out as well. But, I'm just going to throw this on. I just debarbed it. All of my dry fly and nymph hooks, I run barbless. So, it's just easier for me to keep, release the fish and to, if clients catch them in their hands or faces, clothes, it's easier to get out too. So,
Hmm.
I've got some nano silk. This is olive in the 18-aught or 30 denier. And this is outstanding stuff. One tip actually that I learned from Davey McPhail is putting a little bit of fly tires wax right here, which, if you guys have tied with nano silk, you know how slippery this is on a hook shank. And so what I like to do is I just add a little bit of this wax so that it sticks and I don't have to worry about much of anything when it comes to getting this off and having it slide.
Hmm.
And then I also this little cutting tool. So nano silk and GSP both are really hard on scissors. And so this little cutting tool, I'm kind of a gear nut and a little obsessed with having the right tool for the job. But this little cutting tool does a great job from Loon. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run this flat as I can down the shank of the hook. Get this down here to the hook bend. And then if it binds up a little bit to create a little segmentation, that's great. You can create it
Hmm.
yourself. I generally like to have just a touch of segmentation just so that when I bring it back in, I don't know how well you can see that on the screen, but there's just a little tiny ridge there with that nano silk. I don't know if it makes a difference, but,
Yep.
just one of those little touches. Not a big
Sure.
deal. It only takes a second. Then what we're going to do, I tie this with two different colors of the EP trigger point fibers, an orange, and you can do this sunset orange. This is just what I have. They have a really bright, like fiery orange, and then chartreuse. Um, they both work really well depending on the lighting. If it's super cloudy and the lighting is horrible, the chartreuse really pops. But if you've got high sun, this orange is just outstanding. So, because my box is a little, lacking in the chartreuse, I'm just going to tie up the chartreuse today.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I'm going to pinch this. I'm going to flip it off here so I can get a nice tight bind. I'm also going to just reapply a little bit of wax there and then put that on the top. It's important that it kind of stays on the top. This fly rides right in the film. And what's great about it is that it does ride so low. And so fish who are looking at emergers will often take this as well because they don't have to come up so high in the water column to hit it. Now that I have this anchored down, what I'm going to do, you can see how it wants to lay flat against the hook shank. I'm just going to bring this around and create a little post like I was going to tie it on a parachute.
Yep.
But this way, its default is it wants to stand up, which is exactly what we're looking for. Get these. I'm having to kind of adjust here a little bit. It's a little more cumbersome with
Mm-hmm.
making it work for the camera. I'm
Right.
normally not quite
You're
so
doing good.
cumbersome. So forgive me there, but you can see now it's wanting to sit up and even a touch forward. That's great.
Yeah.
That'll sit beautiful with the hackle. And then I'm going to cut this just a little bit long because I can always trim it down further. Now, if you want to go to the big screen,
Mm-hmm.
I really like kind of a dun colored hackle, and I can put this
Yeah.
here as
Let's see it.
well.
Okay.
I like this dun hackle because it provides a little bit of contrast, but it's very consistent with wing colors, right? It's a little
Mm-hmm.
muted and it hides it nicely. And so I've plucked one of these off. I'm going to just get this down. Now, one of the keys to this fly is not to match the exact size. If you can see this, do you see how much
Yeah.
longer that is?
Yeah.
I want to have this at about 2 sizes larger because I want it to sit up more in the water column or
Yeah.
in the
Two
air
sizes larger
because
than
it's
the hook
then the
gap.
hook.
Yeah, the hook.
Then the hook gap.
Gotcha.
And when I do that, and so you can see I'm preening these to see where it stages down in size. And then I'll just take it right down to that. And the reason for that is I'm going to preen all these fibers up. And by doing so, I'm able to really get this visible for me. And then the fish, they don't care. I mean, if it gets too tall, right, that would probably cause an issue, but a
Mm.
little bit of height, um, doesn't turn them off of this pattern at all. And then I'm just going to wind this forward. I like to do about 5 or 6 turns. 3,
Yeah.
4,
Now
5.
this is you've got the parachute type post, but yeah, you're doing the opposite, than a parachute. You're not wrapping it
Yeah.
around the
Yeah.
parachute post.
And I have this so it stays vertical,
Yeah.
right? That's important because again, without the post tying in there, those few wraps, it's just going to want to lay down and then it's not going to look anything like the other bugs that are hatching, midges and early blue wings, which is, oh, and it just busted on me.
There you
That's
go.
fun.
Busted. Yeah. That's a good
So
real time. That's part of flight tying,
yeah,
right?
you know what? Yeah. And we'll save everyone from my little internal monologue here that's going on, but that always happens. Now, one trick that you can use, and this is can you see
Yeah,
this
we see that.
hackle here
Yeah,
that I've
yeah.
got?
Yep.
So if you trim it just a touch here so that some of these fibers are sticking out, then when you go to bind this, it's much harder for that thread to pull out. Does that
Yeah,
make
that locks
sense?
it down. Yeah.
Or
So
for,
it, Yep.
Yeah. So it offers a little pinch point for those to bind. And hopefully this time we don't have, and I have hackle pliers, but,
Right.
and I have a rotary vise too.
Yeah.
But I find that with this, it's just faster. That's
Yeah.
5. And I'll put in one more.
Okay.
There we go. I just got a bad bit of hackle there on that last one.
There you go.
And then I'm going to tie this in with a few turns. 1, 2, right there. That looks good. And then we clip off this bad boy. And that's just waste now because there's not a lot. Now this looks like kind of a dandelion hot mess, right? What I'm going to do is I have a little sponge that I keep in a puck that's wet. And so I like to wet my fingers, which allows me to preen these up. And so what I'm going to do, and this is going to be awkward to see here for a second on the camera, but I'm going to preen these up and then figure 8 around and both sides of this hook. And by doing so, you can see I'm forcing these fibers up. And I like to do, anywhere from 3 to 6 on the smaller hooks. If I'm tying a 22 or smaller, it doesn't take too many, but you want to have it kind of sitting up nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get some strays, don't worry. I've got a couple solutions for that as well. But if you take a look at the underside here, you've got a nice little flat base.
So you figured 8
which
around it. Can you show that from the other? Yeah, the upside. You figured 8. Show what kind of how.
So
you
I
did it.
figure 8 around the back, and then up here around the front. I've got
gotcha.
So you're figure 8ing underneath to lock these fibers up, right? That's the key, is to keep them up. Now, when I do this really well, this ends up being kind of 45 degrees off of either side of center. So it's a 90-degree wedge of hackle. And then I'm going to create just a little bit of a head with half a dozen plus turns, maybe a few more until I get a nice little thread head, something like that. So it's just a little thicker, mimicking a head. And then this is that awesome little midge whip finish from Tiemco.
Oh, it's a just for the smaller flies.
It's small. Yeah. Small flies. I use this 90+% of the time. You can do it several times if you want. Yeah. I typically only do one whip finish because I'm going to use some, resin here. But this allows us to see, okay, I've got a couple strays here, right?
Yep.
Now you can use a couple different tactics. What I've kind of found myself using more and more is these little, cauterizers. Because if I turn it on and hit this,
oh wow,
then it gives the look of legs because I'm burning it off just a touch, right?
That is cool.
And those burnt ends actually get a little buggy, which is awesome. Now, where this tool really shines is, now this never happens to me, so I don't know, why I'm even suggesting this, but if you were to overcrowd the hook eye, right, with thread or material, touching this on the hook eye cleans up the hook eye so that when you're on the water, you're not frustrated, to the ends of the earth that this great bug that you've just spent time tying isn't now worthless because you can't thread it. Right? That's the worst.
Yeah, it is.
So I love that. And then I'm just going to clip that just right in line. You see that? Right in line with my.
So there's no hackle tied behind the post.
No,
it's just in front.
No, doesn't need to be. And you can see it blends right in.
Yeah.
So it's
that is amazing.
Poking straight up.
And what's that one called?
This is the noium. This is the Phil Bear pattern of the noium, but I've added this EP trigger point because, I'm getting older. Also, when you tie this in a 22 and there's a bunch of midges popping, you don't know which one's the natural and which one's yours until you've either missed the hook set, or you're like, I can't find my fly. And then you have to move it. You have to move your rod or move your line to then see, oh, no, that wasn't me. So I like this to show the visibility. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this UV Craft ultra thin resin. Um, and there's a few resin companies out there. Um, Solarez is another really good one. I prefer this UV Craft because I don't have to worry about it getting too thick and like needing to reheat it. So I'm just going to put just a tiny bit both on the head and on that underside. And then so you can see, I
Yeah,
mean,
spin.
I'm not
There you
putting
go.
a ton on there. In
Yeah.
fact, you can barely see it. And then I hit it with my
Oh, there you go.
UV light to cure it. And that's the high-vis no-see-em right there.
There you
This
go.
is, again,
Yeah.
tied in an 18. Where's my little hook
There you
hackle
go.
plier? Boom.
Yeah.
Just
Put
like
that.
that.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Look at that little thing.
And then
And
you can see the wedge,
yeah,
right?
the wedge.
It, that's, that's ideal. That
Yeah.
90 degrees, that's what you're looking for. If it's too tall, if it's too tight like this, it'll sit a little bit lower, but the profile is off. And I have had fish refuse that fly when it's up like this. And then when I switch it for another one that's a little more splayed out, they're right back on it.
Hmm.
So that 90-degree angle is outstanding.
That's
And you know
it.
what? I'm
And
seeing one little,
there you
there we go.
go. And
So that's it. I mean, it's
yeah.
simple. I'm not oversimplifying it. It really is that easy.
And you're imitating with that pattern. You're imitating a little blue winged olive or
Blueing
midge.
olive or midges. Yeah. I mean, if you tie it in a 22,
Yeah.
and midges are popping off. The other thing is I dipped this once in Flyagra. And then Loon actually has, a top ride, um, dip as well. Both of them work really well. And I carry them both, but,
Yep.
Flagra or the top ride, both of them work outstanding. And then you can fish this for, you can probably catch 10 to 20 fish on one bug
Yeah.
because it is so simple. The resin locks in the hackle. So it's not like you're losing the hackle
Pretty
and the
durable.
EP trigger point. Yeah, it's super durable. The EP trigger point fibers are hyper buoyant. The buoyancy is baked into the material. It's not like dipped in. So and it sits right, kind of right here in the water. So they see those wings out of the water, but the body is sitting in the film. Man,
That's
it's money.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So you got one there, and we'll probably chat on that a little more. And you got another one, another
Yeah.
pattern you're going to tie here, right?
Yeah. Yep. Let me, kick that one off to the side
Yeah.
here. Well, and, let me show you what we'll be tying next. This is a variation of a pattern from, a guy who has probably the best Baetis tailwater patterns I use. It is called, so this is a variation of his Slim Shady by
Okay.
Hopper Juan Rodriguez. He's on YouTube and Instagram. He's down in New Mexico on the San Juan.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Pull
but
that one a
this
little bit
little
closer
pattern,
to the camera. See if you can get a little bit. All right. Yeah. About right there. A little down. There you go. Yeah. A little lower. Right there. There you go. Okay. That's a good look at it. Perfect. Okay. We got it.
so this is a super buggy little Baetis. I tie it on a 200R, hook, and his pattern is outstanding. It just has a material that I'm not very fond of. So I have decided to kind of put my own spin on it. So let's get a hook. I've staged all these, but with a lot of materials. So I like to debarb,
Mm-hmm.
just some simple little debarb pliers from Timco as well.
Mm.
And this little hook is really durable and can take a lot of abuse from big fish.
Hmm.
So, and then I'm going to use some, 70 denier UTC in wood duck. I'm also going to put a light application of that wax on just cause it's So slick. And I'll get that thread base down and I could pop this, but we'll just give it a little cutter right there. No big deal. And then this material, you can buy like a few feathers of Pardo. Um, but I prefer this tailing pack
Okay. Let's
from Whiting. I mean,
let's see that in
of
that other.
CDL.
Hold that up on the other angle to your left there. Let's see. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Whiting. Okay. Gotcha.
And
Perfect.
this is the dark Pardo tailing pack.
Okay.
Um, this is enough tailing fibers for thousands of flies and it doesn't break the bank.
Yep.
Um, and so I've got, as you can see here, I have several that I just keep on a little
Nice.
hackle plier, that I just pull from. And then when I can't find this thing, then I pull out another one. And then when I find it, I add to it,
Hmm.
which is why there's 4 or 5, feathers here. But, I'm going to take, 4 or 5. It doesn't really matter. Half a dozen of these tailing fibers and I'll lock those in. I don't want them to be longer than the hook shank. I want them to be just maybe 3/4 the length of the hook shank.
Okay.
And I will bring this down. I'll keep the
Yep. And how many
thread
fibers did you
rather
typically
flat.
use there?
Yeah. I mean, 3 to 6 or 7. I mean,
Yeah.
just a little bunch. Just grab a few. It's not the nice thing about a lot of these patterns is it's not like a total science, right?
Yeah.
A lot of this is open to interpretation, which I love, and you can kind of tweak it the way you want. Now, in sizes 18, 16, 18, 20, I use this midge stretch fiber from Hairline
Mm-hmm.
and, and this is in brown. You can use it in the olive or olive brown. And then when you get smaller than a 20, so sizes like 22,
Micro
24, if you
tubing.
tie that, the micro helps a ton.
Okay. And what are you tying
Just
on
to
here?
make,
What size is this one?
this is an 18.
18. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really tie them bigger than an 18 because our blue wings don't really
That's the
get
size.
bigger than an 8. Yeah. 18, 20, sometimes a 22. And I'm just going to lock this down and make sure it's nice and smooth. And I want to remove all color from that tubing underneath because I'm going to wrap with it. Lay it flat again so I get better coverage and try and have it be rather uniform up to the thorax. So something like this. Now, wood duck typically is a much brighter color thread than what you think might be appropriate. But what we're doing here is we're creating contrast. And I think a lot of times, I've talked a lot with Lance,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of times, uh, these trout are looking for the contrast the, um, in the, in the bugs. So they don't care necessarily as much about, oh, that's a little off, but it's the
Yeah.
contrast that they're kind of keying in on, right? So I've
Right.
just counterwrapped that, locked it in. That then becomes my body segmentation. Very straightforward. Hopper One, what he likes to use for the back, for the thorax case is this, hollow tinsel in black.
Mm-hmm.
And I use this for sizes 22 and smaller. However, I think there's a better material and I'll put this up on the big screen here for you, Dave.
Yeah. Hang on a sec. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Yeah. Pull that a little closer. Bring that a little closer. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if you can see the iridescence of
Yeah.
this
A little
material,
bit. Yeah.
but it is wicked. And this in the dark ultraviolet mimics that black. But what I do is I just cut it and then we'll go back to the bug.
Mm-hmm.
I just tie this nice and skinny. And it acts as a great flashback with some good color. And they have several different colors, but for Betis, I really like this. I also use one a lot for, PMDs. That's much brighter, like almost kind of like a burnt orange
Mm-hmm.
color, but it has, and then I'm just going to test that. That looks great. So I like this on the bigger sizes. I can cut this as thin as I want, but
Yep.
This I like a little bit bigger thorax case on this. And then so to show you what the original pattern uses are these black floral fibers.
Mm-hmm.
I find this also a little cumbersome. And so what I've found that works really well instead is actually from Wapsi, this natural fur. And this is a
Hmm.
total, like, I think guide hack, but this is
Yeah.
in fox squirrel. And the reason I like this so much is because it is just so buggy. So I'm going to put a
Hmm.
touch of wax here on there. Just, it doesn't need a lot. And then I wet my fingers so that I can grab this. And then with wet fingers, it doesn't stick to my fingers so
Mm.
much. And I just need a little noodle. Do you
Yeah.
see how?
Yeah. It looks kind of like hare's ear, kind of a little bit like hare's ear.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I use this on hare's ear too,
Yeah.
actually. I actually like the fox scroll more than hare's mask.
Yeah.
Um, and then, and then all we do is we bring this right to the front, over the top, give it, there we go, 4 or 5 wraps. And then I like to wrap it back a
Yeah.
couple times as well before I snip this off to trap that in
Yep.
and get a nice clean cut. And then you can see I've got those fibers in the front of the hook eye, but with that cauterizing tool,
Oh, you'll get them.
it is, oh,
It actually looks pretty
I
cool. It looks
mean,
pretty buggy as it is, right?
it is, yeah, this fox squirrel stuff is super buggy. And
Yeah.
again, I'm going to finish this off with resin, so I don't really need to throw in a
Right. It
couple
almost looks
or
like you have
super,
a couple of antenna right off
yeah,
the front.
yeah. Yeah, it's outstanding. This fox squirrel. So one other thing that I do before I resin is I use, and again, I'm kind of a, like I said, a tool nerd with the right tool. This Tiemco dubbing brush,
Uh
I'm going
huh.
to use this on the next pattern too, but this Tiemco dubbing brush is magic because it teases out these fibers better than anything else. And I
Yes.
used to like,
There you go. Swing that. Yeah, I got out of focus when you pulled it up to the top, but yeah,
yeah. Okay.
there you
So
go.
you can see now how much more buggy this is.
Mm-hmm.
So legs, gills, it's magic.
Yeah.
It's really
It's
good stuff.
pretty
And
sparse so
it's,
fly overall, right? And not a real full like that.
yeah,
Even the thorax is pretty. It's not super thick, right? It's not giant.
no, no. And the profile of the Betis isn't,
Yeah,
we're not
that's a skinny
looking
bug.
for an offensive lineman, right?
Right.
We're looking for someone who's really skinny, like a wide receiver or a kicker
Yeah.
profile, right?
Is the Betis a swimmer or what do you know that on the entomology
Yeah.
piece?
So they don't swim normally. They get knocked off rocks and then the fish, excuse me, will also pick them off rocks.
Yeah.
And then they'll
Tumble
float
down.
and they'll tumble, but they don't swim a lot. They're
No.
more of a rock grabber.
Yeah, like a
Okay.
grabber clinger. Yeah.
And so I'm just going to hit this again. It might be out of focus for a second, but that's my version of the Slim Shady 5.0 by Hopper One.
The Slim Shady. That's the
And
pattern.
the Slim Shady 5.0. So to plug him for a second, because
Yeah.
he's rad.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
He has 3 Betis patterns that are kind of my secret trifecta. The Slim Shady 5.0, the Sniper Betis is another, and of course, now that I'm trying to say it,
Yeah.
I
Right. And
won't
who is the
remember. But he
person you're
has
talking
a
about?
third
Who
one.
is the who
Hopper. His name's Hopper One on
Hopper Juan?
yeah on YouTube and on Instagram.
Okay.
Um, he's rad. Um, and so he's a signature fly tire. He's got several patterns that are really good, but this is probably my number one producing Betis pattern.
Yeah.
In fact, well,
Hopper. Yeah. Let's
here in
see that. Let's
this
see that box. That's a killer
one of my
box. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
in one in one of my boxes here on the bottom
Oh,
are,
we lost our focus a little
oh,
bit there. Let's see.
sorry. Let me move my magnifier out of the way. How's that?
No, we lost our focus. I don't know what happened there, but we had it, and now it's totally out of focus. Oh, there you go. Now you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, put it right there. Yeah, right. Okay, we can see it now.
So,
So,
these bottom ones, these are all those ones that I just tied
oh, okay.
that are super effective.
Yeah. So
Really a great
small. And
pattern.
you could tie down to 22s. Is that your small 24s?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
22s. If I have to go 24s, then I don't like to. Then typically what I'll do is I'll try and tie something. I'll try and tie something else on like an annelid or a simple midge, something, or maybe like a little foam back midge. Oh, that was the other thing.
Yeah.
So, if we're talking about kind of other ways that you can tie this, you could tie this for a PMD. You could tie it with a little bit of a foam back if you wanted.
Mm-hmm. To make
And
it
it's
sit up a little
just,
higher in the
and,
column.
and yeah, like it's about to emerge.
Right.
As most trout guys know, trout have like the biggest FOMO of anyone. And if they see a bug that's about to escape, they
That's
lose their
it.
minds and they crush it. So if you're like 30 minutes an hour before a hatch, having ones that begin to float a little bit, um,
That's it.
can be
Nice.
really, really
Yep.
fun. And that foam back sits a little bit higher too. It creates that little, almost a bubble look. It's just a taller profile, which can be deadly for those fish. They just can't help themselves. So
Sweet.
yeah,
Cool.
so that's
That's
my variation on that Slim Shady.
nice. So you got well, the first fly was a dry fly, but it was sitting in
Yes.
the film, and now you've got a little bit of a nymph.
Yes.
Would you fish this as a kind
Nymph.
of an emerger too, or more down lower, deeper?
Yeah. I have had success with it on the bottom of rigs and at the top. Just depending on where we are um, with bugs in the river. I will also say a couple of weeks ago, we had some pretty typical weather. It was overcast. It was cold, and the few fish that we were catching, that I pumped just had algae and sow bugs in
Hmm.
them. And it's because no bugs were moving in the water. It was a little early for the bugs to
Mm.
move because we hit a cold front, but
Yep.
this bug was catching fish where they weren't really feeding.
Hmm.
They keyed in on this when they weren't feeding because, um, they were, they couldn't pass it up. It
Yep.
was just too
Too good.
good of a pattern and caused them to eat where otherwise they probably would have been just looking for
Yep.
picking bugs off rocks. So
Nice.
that's one that I really love. And that little shellback, from Sabai is just incredible material. And I think, Devin Olson, on tacticalflyfisher.com has that,
Yep.
material on his site. So great
Perfect.
pattern there.
Perfect.
Um, so
So
go
cool.
ahead.
So we're gonna do another one, and I just want to let folks know
Yes.
if you have any questions, throw them in the comments here, and then I'll follow up with at the end here. We'll do a little Q&A. But what do you got for our third fly? You got another one here?
So yeah, our third fly is something that can catch fish any day of the year on most tailwaters. I would say 99% of tailwaters, and that's sow bugs.
Sow bugs.
And I tie them in all different colors, shades you can see. Most of them have a little bit of a hot spot on them because I think it sets them out just enough. Again, that little bit of a contrast where it will trigger a response from the fish.
Yeah.
And so my number one hook for sow bugs is a 2488. I think today I just grabbed this in a 2488H, which is the heavy, just because it's a little thicker and gives me a little more sink. So it kind of sits. When these get kicked loose off of rocks, they tend to tumble. They are not swimmers. They're not like scuds.
Yeah.
Um, because their feet come straight out. And so they just tumble and roll.
Hmm.
Um, and
And
so
and would you fish these throughout the winter, throughout the year? When would you fish these?
I'll tell you, on the Provo, you could you could expect to catch a fish on this pattern any day of the year.
Hmm.
It
Nice.
is a staple of their diet.
Yeah.
Um, it is really just ubiquitous in Utah.
Okay. And
The sow
is
bug.
this called? Does this have a name, or is it just the sow bug?
This I would call this a tailwater sow.
Tailwater.
There's some others, yeah. Like freestone sows, in my experience, tend to be a little bit larger. Um, and but again, color variation, and I'll show you here.
Yeah.
So 2488, this is on I think a 16
Okay.
size hook. I like the UTC in fluorescent fire orange.
Yep.
Um, with most of these, with all three of these flies, the one thing that you can do, I think, to really muck up, the fly is overdressing them. Putting too much material on them will just make
Hmm.
them too tough to fish. The fish won't key in on them as much. You'll have a harder time, um, finding fish that will consistently feed on them. Starting super sparse is, I think, a key to success for tailwater trout. Because again, they're not looking for the bug that's an offensive lineman. Like you can get I tie these in up to a size 12, but I keep the dubbing material uh, quite sparse. And I'll show you why here
Mm-hmm.
in a minute. So my ribbing material is actually mono.
Hmm.
A lot of guys prefer wire, but I like the durability of the mono. I like that it doesn't offer flash. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
these bugs, um, you know, sometimes they don't want to see a whole lot of flash.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tie that in, and I can just put that in my little hook there.
So that's just
And then,
any mono you have. Just use whatever you got.
yeah, I mean, I'll tie it down. If I'm tying really small, like on a 24, I'll probably use like 7X or 6X. This I think is maybe, it feels like 5X to me.
Yeah.
I'm on a 16. I need it to be, pretty durable. I need it to be kind of robust. And this is more thin than a comparable wire. Like a wire that would be this durable would be medium. And I think it just is a little
Too
too
too big. Too
thick,
bulky.
and it's too bulky, and it's much more stiff and stout
Yeah.
than,
Yeah. This actually, if they were
the
to bite
material that I'd
into it,
like.
I think the softness of materials. Do you think that makes
Mhm.
a factor when fish are biting your fly?
I'd like to think so,
Yeah.
right? It's fish are jerks. They'll never tell you, right, what they're thinking.
No.
Um, I like to think that it does. Now let's talk about the vein material. So I have several different options that I use. Sometimes when I'm using really small stuff, I will actually use, you can see that,
Yeah.
like
What?
small wire, just small black wire
Okay.
across the top as a vein. Um, Here, when it's bigger, I'm using, um, micro tubing,
Okay.
micro stretch rib that will come right across the back here. Um, so size, and then sizes 18 to 20, I'll use this stuff here, which
Oh,
is just
mid
awesome.
stretch rib. What's
Yeah.
it? Blade.
Which is great.
Mid stretch rib blade.
Black.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
black. Sorry.
black.
Sorry. Black. There you
I
go.
was
Okay.
covering it up.
MSR
Yep.
11.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. That stuff is awesome too. So, sow bugs, scuds, right? Freshwater shrimp. They have
Mm-hmm.
this little vein running across their back. And I have found that if I don't have the vein across the back, I don't catch as many fish
Hmm.
with that pattern, because this is something that they see in every bug. And if it doesn't have it, then something's a little awry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, So I've just locked that in as well. Now, we'll look at the dubbing material. So I've got here in this little cup. Can you see that?
Yep. Yep.
These are
Hang on. Let me just
probably my
move this. Go ahead. Yeah.
these are probably my three most used colors. And I tend to use here, and I'll put this up on the big screen.
Yeah. Hang on a
Um,
sec. So yeah, go a little
the
closer here. Get a little closer to that. There
Yeah,
you go. Yeah. Okay. Dave Whitlock. Yep. Okay.
Dave Whitlock's SLF dubbing. This is in, I think, the sow tan. Yeah, sow bug tan.
Salbug tan.
Um, but, mhm. And the key, so these materials, in fact, I'll pull some out so you can see how long these fibers are. This is going to be a real problem. Do you see how long and lanky
Yeah.
these are?
Yeah. They're long.
They're very long. And so what I do is I will actually cut these a few times to shorten these fibers. Pardon me. I'll shorten these fibers up. and then mix them up again, get them all going one way. And then this way, when I lay them down, now they're maybe 25% as long, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tease these out once I tie in this material. So I'm going to wet my fingers. I'm going to just do a little bit at a time. These dubbing loops, generally when you dub stuff on, you want it to be quite thick.
Yeah.
Here, I want a nice loose kind of dubbing loop, not over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you
Yep.
can,
Yeah, we
you
see
see
that.
that?
Yep.
I want it nice and loose,
Yeah, pretty
because
loose.
if I go too tight, then it's harder for me to tease out. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. But the nice thing is this offers a little bit of flash in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just going to bind this up and
Yeah.
wind it up here on
Is
my
there any
hook.
worry of getting it too loose that when you tease it out, it comes apart on you?
No,
No.
no, actually, no, in fact, I'm probably going to take off maybe a third of this
Yeah.
material by teasing it out.
That
Okay.
already looks like a sow
Uh,
bug. That thing is looking already
it looks
looking
great, right?
yeah.
Super
Super
buggy.
buggy.
So
Yep.
I'm gonna trap in that dubbing loop, and then I'm going to pull over, pardon the fingers here. I'm
Yep.
going to pull under with pressure so it stretches for me here,
Yep.
that vein. Can you see that
Yep.
vein?
Yeah, see it perfectly.
Good. So I like to lock it in. Typically it locks in just on the far side because it's hard to get it right over the top.
Right.
So
Yeah, that is tricky.
I'm trying to keep it here for the camera so you can kind of see it. There we go.
Yep. Way
So a
better.
few turns in to lock that in. Okay. I might even just lock it here on the
Yeah.
backside too, just to make sure I get a nice solid anchor. And then boom, that's done. Now the last part is the ribbing. Okay.
Yep.
Here, I want to get this nice and tight. So what's going to happen is I expect to see a good amount of binding of this mono on the hook shank and in the dubbing. I want it to kind of be ridged in, and then I will tease it out in between those ridges. Does that make,
Mm.
do you
Mm-hmm.
follow?
Yep.
And then the other thing that is, so if you use wire, a lot of times because it's wire, as I go to counter wrap this, the wire will often bend and twist versus the rib will just stay nice and straight for me. And I'll just keep
Mm.
my finger on there. As you can see, I'll keep my finger on here so that when I'm pulling this over, I'm not pulling the ribbing with it,
All
right?
right.
It's staying pretty straight. Now it looks like, oh no, I've kind of covered it up. That's totally fine. I'm going to just wrap this in again, wrap this material. There we go. Trap that mono, and then a couple little things. So you can see right here, maybe, let me reposition this. There we go. So you can see I've crowded intentionally for the viewers at home. I've intentionally trapped this a little bit. And what I
Mm-hmm.
can do here with my nails is I can pinch at the base of that hook eye to push those materials back a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
none of this has been anchored in, right? So I'm just going to snip that off. I'll give it a couple more good wraps. Oh, I trimmed that a little long. That's all right. And then I generally like to get a little bit of a quote unquote head
A little head
here.
there. Yep.
Just a little bit, not too big. And again, if I crowd that hook eye with
It's
this fly,
okay.
especially, I know I can pinch this back. And if not, once I get it to where I want, then I can use that,
Yeah.
I can use the zapper
Zapper.
and,
Yeah, show us
and
how that
zap it.
zapper works. So how do you zap? So you could actually zap it to clean up the head.
I can, yeah. So I'll show you. So it has a little button on it right here
Yep.
that if I leave it depressed for a second, look, you see it
Yeah.
smoking
Right.
and then
Oh,
it'll
there it
turn
goes.
red, right?
Yep.
And so I can, let me get my magnifier.
Right.
So, I can touch and just burn off any of these materials.
Little guys. But you're not touching
Yeah.
your thread. You're not actually touching your thread though.
Actually, I bumped it a couple times just to see if it would pop off and it
And
didn't. Here's
and it
the
didn't.
mono.
Huh. So it kind of
And there
melts.
I'm
It
pushing
almost
the mono
melts.
back.
It almost melts your stuff together a little bit.
Yeah, man, it's a great little hack.
Wow. What is that tool? Is
It's
that a
it.
pretty common tool? Yeah.
So it is in like, I guess the craft world.
Yeah.
It is, and
What's it
it's one
called?
of the links that
There you go.
the
Thread. Oh,
this
it's in the
is,
links. Okay.
yeah, yeah. But also like for guys who are in the medical field, it's basically just, it's a cauterizer. So like it's not an uncommon tool at all.
Right.
A simple little cauterizing tool is all this is. So super simple. And then I will also, just for the durability's sake, um, I will put just a touch of this resin right on, yep, right on the head there. And then for all intents and purposes, and do you see it pop in color
Did it?
with the orange? Do you see it under the UV light, how it
Uh,
just explodes in color?
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Does it? It really
Okay.
pulls it out.
It, oh man, it like it's plugged in, like it's a
Nice.
neon sign. And there's different opinions on, well, can fish see UV? And the general consensus is yes, when they're younger, but they lose that ability when they age.
Oh, really?
Um, mhm. So now I've got all this material in here, and so generally a sow bug is really flat, right?
Yeah. Right. It's flat.
With legs kind of coming out the sides. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to tease this on one side and tease it out, and then I'm going to flip it over. I like to pinch this, and I'm going to
Yeah.
tease out on the other side.
Is that a
And
metal type brush?
yes, yeah, every one of those fingers is like really stiff metal. It is not. It's from Tiemco. So as we were talking before, the Japanese love to engineer and over engineer this, this tool. Um, Man, I use it all the time when I'm trying to tease out material. So you can see now
Yeah.
how
There you
much
go.
material I've pulled out, right?
Yep.
And then all I'm going to do to make my sow bug
Just cut
is
it.
I'm going to clip this. And that is a great little tailwater sow that will catch a lot of fish. And then if you can
Yeah.
maybe, can you see the underside here? Or
A
actually,
little
I'll
bit.
grab a hackle plier. Let me grab a hackle plier and I'll show you. So if we look at the underside, you can see how flat that is, right?
Yeah.
Is that showing up?
Yeah. Yeah. We can see it's flat. Yeah.
It's really flat. Now, the difference between this and a scud is that all the feet on a scud or a freshwater shrimp go down. So you can use this same concept, the same tying method, but just teasing the
Tease
material
them
down.
down.
And then I would use like a medium or a thick resin over the top of that vein to create more of a shell back.
Yeah.
And then I mean, really, you match color and it's game on.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is to tie a scud versus a sow bug. But you want them also, the scuds to be sparse. If they're too thick and bushy, you're not going to have, in fact, this even looks a little thick to me. I might even,
Cut it up a little bit.
if I was,
Trim it up.
yeah, I might even tease out a little bit more material. So, a lot of guys really love a good bobbin. I
Yep.
do too, but, this, this little brush teases out so much better than trying to pick material out with a bobbin or a
Mm-hmm.
dubbing. Yeah. So I'll just trim this out. There we go. That's a little more sparse and a little more,
Yeah.
I'll square up the back just like that. That's
There
it.
you go. Yep. Pretty clean.
So, I mean,
How do you,
yeah. And I can go ahead,
I was just gonna say, how do you fish this thing now? Is it different than the other ones?
man.
Yeah.
So in our previous episode, we talked about the bounce rig, and the one that's coming out next month, we also talked about the bounce rig.
Yep.
This on a bounce rig is
That's it.
magic. You can weight it and you can have it as part of an inline rig if you want. And then the other thing too, I don't know if you can see this, but some of that orange is coming through a little
Yeah,
bit
you
on
can
the
see it.
bottom.
It's coming through a little bit.
So the sows are pregnant and have eggs, this can often imitate some of the egg sacs. But as it's wet, it becomes a little translucent and that orange will pop a little bit too on the bottom, which
Mm-hmm.
I think all just contribute to its, fishability. So I put this on one of my tags. I mean,
Yeah.
unless they are absolutely keyed in on a hatch, um, most of us will have a sow bug on almost every trip. I mean,
Really?
yeah, it is,
It's a good
it's a
one.
staple. I mean, that's why this whole box,
That's
and
it.
I still I need to fill it back in from the winter, but is all just sow bugs from size, looks like 12 here down to 22, 24.
Those are all.
So
That's a sow bug box.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Can you turn it? Yeah, there you go. A little bit. It's a little out of focus. Let's see if we can get it. Right. Yeah, there you go. Right there. Right there. There we got it. Okay. Yeah, and you got the
So
nice.
some blonde, some a little bit orangey. The orange ones actually here on the magnet. When a sow bug dies, they turn kind of orange,
Hmm.
kind of like a scud. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we see a lot of dead ones in stomachs, I'll be like, well, let's throw that on. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, from very like really light where this finger is here over here, these light ones to really dark, almost black. It depends on what they're eating in the time of year that these sow bugs kind of change their hue, their shade. And, yeah, so
Yeah.
very,
Cool.
very effective on a tailwater.
Very
So
nice.
those are my three bugs.
Those are awesome. Those are guide flies. What you'd call some of your guide flies.
I would call these guide flies. I mean, they
You
are
got yeah.
staples in my box. I tie dozens, if not hundreds of these a year.
Yeah.
Certainly with the sow bugs, I tie hundreds of sow bugs a year.
Yeah.
And that hook, the 2488, a little cheat. So a normal hook eye with a 2488 is smaller than this hook eye, but when it's the 2488H, it's a bigger hook eye because it's a thicker wire and they can't bend it
Oh right.
as tight. So in sizes like 22, 24, I use the
Take the H.
2488H because it's way easier for me to thread.
Yeah. An H. Okay. And perfect. Well, those are awesome. And we so if anybody has any questions for Mike for anything and around fly tying, go ahead and throw them in the comments. Tim was asking. He mentioned that he's seen Tom Rosenbauer and Tim Flagler use that same cauterizing tool. So I guess there's some other
Oh,
pros
cool.
out there doing it. And he also
Yeah.
said that he made a one of those little round brass steel brushes out of a small Drexel tool brush, I guess. So it sounds like
Oh, okay. Dremel.
that's the
Probably
tool.
Dremel.
Yeah, the Dremel.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the
That's
tools is an interesting thing because I think tool comes up. I mean, having the right tools obviously is important. We had a question that came through on the podcast about the whip finish, tying a whip finish.
okay.
Can you tie that with just your hands without the tool?
Yes, I can. Let me grab a hook
Yeah.
and I will tell you my guide hands, like I have large, maybe larger than average hands. And the
Yep.
issue is tying without a whip finish tool is not hard.
Yeah. It's not
It's
hard.
very easy to do. Let me just dress this line
Yeah.
here. I'll put it on here and you can see.
But that little tool you used today was pretty nice because if I feel like the bigger one
Oh,
sometimes it's just kind of too big. It's like too big, right? The big whip finish tool.
yeah. I mean, I think of it really is just inefficient. So I can whip finish here very precisely, right? No
Yep.
sweat, very
Perfect.
easy. I can do the same thing here,
There it
but
is.
my problem is when I'm whip
Finishing it.
finishing with my fingers, most of my cuticles are chewed up from being in and out of the water.
Yep.
So especially on something like this 30 denier, right?
Right.
When in the middle of
Oh,
the season, when
it
I'm
catches
tying,
on
oh,
it.
look,
Right.
it
There you go.
catches. And so when I
Nice.
go to tie, then the head gets all messy and I would just as soon not be frustrated by using my,
Yeah.
my fingers that just end
Oh,
up,
there you go. Look what it
you know,
did.
trashing material. Do you see that?
Yeah, I did
That's
it.
just
Yep.
from a couple passes with my thumb,
So there's
not
a
my
good reason
nail.
to
It's
use the
just this.
tool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my number one reason for using the tool over the fingers. Fingers is faster.
Yeah, it's faster,
But
but there's a good reason that if you got little and everybody has those, right? The little things and whatever.
yeah. Yeah. And, depending on what your job is, right? Having nice manicured hands is, not
Yeah.
something I have
Right.
ever done. So,
No.
my fingers are always a little chewed up. My nails, different lengths because they get caught on stuff
Yeah.
and banged up. So, the whip finish tool for me is just, it's a little half step more,
Uh
but
huh.
it keeps the head so much cleaner that, I, as we say in fly tying, let the fish, you know, dirty up and mess up the
Yeah.
fly,
Yeah.
but try and have it be as clean as you can from the start. The other thing too, if you're using like resin and you're touching something and it's got all this material kind of floating around on the top of a head, it's going to bind to that and then it's going to stick up and it's
Yeah.
not going to lay flat. So I like to have a clean head because that more often than not means that I have a clean hook eye. And,
Yeah.
when fish are biting and I've got a clean head versus a dirty one and I try to put one on and I can't throw that tippet through the hook eye, man,
That's
I
not
just as
good.
soon throw that
Yeah.
fly
That's the
away into the
worst.
river and start over.
That's
Right.
the worst.
And,
Yeah. When
and
you
th-
gotta,
yeah.
you can't get your leader
So,
through the hook eye. That's a rough one.
oh, it's the worst. So
Yeah.
good
What is
question
the
though. Yeah.
yeah, what is the vice you're using there?
So this is the Renzetti Master.
Okay.
Um, because I tie so much, I use, I use this a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every day. I use it is it's a high end vice for pros. Um, it's not inexpensive. In fact, up here you can probably see I have an old what is that one?
Oh, you got an older one up.
That's
Oh yeah.
it's a very inexpensive peak
Oh,
that I
peak.
used
Yeah,
for
peak.
years. Great. They're out of Colorado. Um, but I've outgrown it. I've had to replace the jaws on that so many times because I tied so much
Yeah. Right.
that I was just like, look, so I went into, fly fish food and I was talking to Cheech and said, hey man, I need a vice that can
Yeah.
last for years that I'm not
Right.
having to tinker with. And the nice thing about the Renzetti Master versus some of their other models is there's no bands. So I don't have to replace anything on this. It's
Oh yeah.
all brass or steel or aluminum and it's tough as
It's good to
nails.
go.
So yeah. And then I didn't use this too much today, but this magnifying lens
Uh huh.
um, with this LED light, like my wife can be
That's
watching
it.
TV or I can just be focusing in. And here on the camera, as we've discussed, it washes everything out.
Yeah, it does.
But when it's your eyes looking
It's perfect.
through this magnifier, oh man, it's money.
And light is
So
key, right? Light is
again,
a big part
oh
of when you're yeah.
yeah. And it catches fibers. It helps you to lay up your thread wraps nice and clean. It shows everything. So
Yeah. Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect. Good. What about that no CM? How do you were just fishing that recently, right? You did really well on that one this like yesterday or
I mean, as recently as yesterday, I was
yeah.
using it. Yeah.
How are you fishing that yesterday?
So, so yesterday I went to, one of my favorite little spring creeks. I'm going to put it back here in the slice if you want.
Yeah.
I went back to one of my favorite spring creeks again because I saw the forecast
Yeah, very
and
nice.
with weather getting super hot next week, we're going to see a lot of runoff and a lot of our high mountain streams and rivers will be blown out for a few weeks,
Yep.
plus. And so I went in to go, actually I went in with nymphs on the end of, a 10-foot 3-weight Orbis recon rod thinking, oh, I'm going to bang them up here on nymphs.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first little pool that I walked up on, I saw 2 risers in 90 seconds. So
Nice.
I clipped off that whole nymph rig and threw on 4 or 5 feet of 5X mono and threw this no seam on the end and started getting into fish immediately.
Just like that.
And then just like that. And then when the blue wing olive hatch really turned on, I switched from this to my favorite dedicated bluing pattern, which is the Antonio's bluing. It uses CDC as the wings, which are super buggy and buoyant.
Yep.
Um, and that one fly easily was, over 30 fish before I had to retire that fly and switch it out for a new one.
Nice.
So, yeah, but when they're just starting to look up and they're a little shy of coming on top, this one that sits in the film,
Yeah.
um, sits so low is just outstanding. So
Yeah. That's it.
really, really a strong producer. And, um, and you can tie these big, you can change the color of the thread if you want to match other bugs that you have. I just like having that really skinny profile on the hook shank with the nano silk, and nano silk is so durable. I don't have to hit nano silk
Mm,
with the resin, right?
yeah. Right. Wow.
So
And
yeah,
yesterday on that
it's a great little pattern.
on that hatch, so you saw, so it was mostly a blue winged olive hatch that eventually came off.
Yeah, yeah, and it was pretty thick. I mean, I was getting them in my ears and hair, um, so they were all over the place, and a lot of moths and butterflies, insects all over, box elder bugs. I mean, it was 65, 66 degrees yesterday,
Wow.
and spring is here in the lower elevation of the mountains, between 5,000 and 7,500, 8,000 feet
Hmm.
above sea level. It's really starting to pop off, and the fish are fired up. It was a little ludicrous. I made a post yesterday about catching a bunch of them. And after, 5 or 6 releases, I was short little release videos. I was like, that's it. I'm just going to fish for myself now. And
Yeah.
it just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And I fished from like 1 to 5 and put easily 3 dozen fish in the net. I
Nice.
mean, it was just,
That's a
it
good.
was, it was crazy. Yeah. It was on a little spring creek. Um, it was,
That's a good day.
one of those days. Yeah, one of those days you'll remember for a long time, right?
That's a good. That's a great day.
So yeah, super fun.
Nice. Well, good. Well, I'm going to take one more shot, pop over where people can find you. We've got the website pulled up
Okay,
here,
great.
flyfishwithmeutah.com. If everybody wants to check in
Mm-hmm.
here with Mike, we'll be following up. Like you said, we got a good podcast that we're going to be doing with you coming out again, a new one, which we're going to talk, like I said, I think on the first one you talked about that, not the drop shot. What was the technique
The
you were talking
bounce
about?
rig.
Yeah, the bounce rig, which was
Mm-hmm.
really cool, and we got into a little bit more on this next one, so people can get excited
Yeah.
to see that. So we'll have that coming out here, and then like we said, I think we're going to do the boot camp. We're just really getting started. We're kind of getting started in, what is this, day 2? So tonight we've got a
Mm-hmm.
spay casting. Tomorrow we're going to jump into some warm water stuff, mix it up. But these will
Great.
all be on the
Mm-hmm.
replay. Everything will be at the fly fishing boot camp replay page, so people can watch there. And then yeah,
Awesome.
and like we said, we're giving away. Follow Mike at Fly Fish with Me Utah on Instagram, and you'll get a chance to win the fly rod that we're going to be giving away tonight, which will be late for the East
Awesome.
Coasters. It'll be late in the night on the East Coast, but it's going to be fun to do that tonight. And then we'll be
Great.
ready. Well, Mike, I appreciate you today doing your session. This has been awesome. Has it felt
It's
pretty good
fun.
for you?
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny for me to bounce from one to the next because normally I'll tie, you know, 10 to 12 and then switch.
Yeah,
But this is a nice little breakup. And again, these bugs ought to be in any trout
like any box,
angler's
whether you're
box.
on the West Coast or East Coast, these are probably patterns you want to have.
Yeah. That high-vis no-see-um, a sow bug, and betas are in every trout river that I know of,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, those three ought to be kind of staples. Um, so,
cool.
oh, I
Yeah,
remembered.
yeah.
Hopper One. It's the Jedi Master Betas, the Sniper Betas, and the Slim Shady 5.0. Those are
Okay,
the three.
Jedi Master was it Jedi Master?
Yeah, Jedi Master, Slim Shady, and the Sniper Betas.
Perfect, perfect. And
They're all, yeah,
there'll be some notes in the comments here, either in the
cool.
description where you can follow up with all this. So, Mike, we will be following up with you on
Yeah,
the Wet Fly Swing podcast, of course, as always. And this has
outstanding.
been a fun session. You've been definitely put this together. I'm glad I've got 3 more flies to put in the box and tie up here this week. So we're
Yeah,
excited.
awesome.
Okay,
Thanks a
man.
lot, Dave.
All right, good talking. We'll see you soon.
We'll see ya.